I have one important question to break it off the top. How good are you on a scale of 1 to 10 riding in the sand?
Probably about an 8.
Good, because I'm a 1.5. I need you to tell me how to get from 1.5 to 8. So hit the highlights for me, and let's start with what part of the bike touches the ground and what we need to do to it.
So first we're going to prep the bike, so that's your tires.
Okay.
My Tiger, on pavement, I'm running 42 PSI in the rear, 39 in the front. Great for pavement, horrible on dirt. Basically, you don't have enough surface contact area with the sand. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to air down to 25 PSI front and back, and basically that'll give the tire, it'll spread it out, give it more surface area so I can get more traction in the sand.
So when we're airing down the tires, I'm assuming for each bike it's going to be a little bit different depending on the weight of the bike and the type of tires that you have, but you don't want to air them too far down because...
With the Tiger, if I air down too low, I run the risk of bending a rim.
Okay.
You guys with like your V-Strom and Chris's CB, you guys have cast wheels.
Yeah.
You run the risk of cracking a wheel.
Okay. A little bit of air down is good, a lot of air down is bad.
Correct.
Okay,
the other thing too is if you air down too much, now this is more to bigger dual sports and enduros like KLRs, DR650s. If you air down too much, you can actually break the bead on the rim.
Okay.
And the tire will rotate on the rim. So
that would be not good.
That's not good at all.
Yeah, I'm a novice, but I know that wouldn't be good. All right, cool. So that takes care of the tires. Let's talk about what we need to do with our hands.
So hand control, you've got clutch control, throttle control, and how you grip the handlebars.
Okay.
I'm going to start with handlebars, okay?
Cool.
One of the things that some people do when they get in sand or a loose traction area is they death grip the handlebars.
Okay.
Like you see them tense up.
Trying to hold it straight.
Correct.
Yeah.
You're fighting a 500-pound motorcycle, and inertia and physics is not going to work out for you.
Okay.
So just gently have your hands on the bars. Now, I'm not saying like, you know, keep them super soft, but firm pressure, but don't death grip it, okay?
It's like the song, hold on loosely, but don't let go.
Correct.
Okay, cool.
Second is clutch,
okay?
Feathering the clutch is going to be your best friend in some areas. You're going to get in some areas where you have super deep sand, and if you just start feathering the clutch, give it power to the rear wheel, take it away. Give it power, take it away. That's going to help you push through some dirt from some deeper areas, some tougher areas, and it's going to really help you kind of maintain control of the bike.
Okay.
The other thing is the throttle.
Right.
Okay. Sometimes we want to throttle out. That's just the big thing. Throttle out, you know, means, you know, crank that throttle as much as you can and hold on. In sand, that can kind of work, but a lot of times it doesn't.
Okay.
My Tiger's got 90 horsepower to that rear wheel. If I get in deep sand, if I lose traction, and then I start hammering on that throttle, that's 90 horsepower that's going to a wheel that I cannot control.
That's just going to slip underneath you.
Correct.
Gotcha.
And the bike will go left, right, up, down.
Rarely straight.
It will go everywhere that I won't want it to go. The thing with throttle control is just gently ease on the throttle, let it go. Okay. Those three things right there for your hand controls, it's going to take practice.
Now, I noticed you left one of the 4 things off the list, front brake.
The reason why I left front brake off, I did it on purpose, is one of the biggest misconceptions, and this is all motorcycle riders, is if you need to get stopped quick, emergency situation, or if you get nervous and scared, some people just mash that front brake. If you mash that front brake in sand, the whole front end of the bike is going to twist and you're going off.
Okay.
So my biggest advice is don't look at the front brake. Don't think about the front brake. You don't have a front brake.
Gotcha. Your clutch is your front brake.
Correct.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So that takes care of what we're doing with our hands. Let's talk about what we're going to do with our feet. And I'm assuming you're going to need to get on the bike for that.
Yes.
Cool.
So one of the biggest misconceptions, and this is kind of one of the things that, thanks to social media, we have all seen, is everyone has this perception that when you're riding off pavement, off-road, in sand, you have to be standing up. You don't have to be standing up at all times. You can easily ride through deep sand, gravel, mud, sitting down, you'll be fine. We're not Dakar racers.
Yeah.
And actually, if you look at Dakar racers, they actually don't even stand up that much. So it's okay to be sitting down. Now, when you're sitting down, just ride your bike like normal, okay? Your foot peg is centered on your boot.
Right.
And just, you know, just ride.
Now, okay, so you said centered on your boot. Why not on the balls?
So if you're on the balls of the feet,
Yep.
what are my heels doing?
Okay. Sticking out.
Yep.
Cool.
So think about it this way, okay? If your feet, are centered on the pegs,
Yep.
and if you do fall, you're gonna plant your entire foot. Or if you need to stop, you're gonna plant your entire foot. If I'm on the balls of my feet and I need to stop real quick, I push off, I'm gonna be breaking some toes.
Gotcha.
No matter, if you got good dirt style boots or the enduro boots like you guys have, it's just not a good idea.
Tiny details matter.
Yes.
All right, cool.
So while you're centered on the pegs, the other thing with your feet is you're gonna steer with your feet.
Okay.
Okay. When you take a turn on pavement, you kind of use the bars a little bit and you lean.
Right.
Okay. You use your entire body. On dirt or in low traction areas, you just make subtle movements. Okay. With your feet. Now, I'm not throwing my body hard to the right. I'm just shifting my weight on my right foot.
Okay. So you're pushing. It's sort of like skating. You're pushing down on the foot.
Correct.
Okay. Cool. So that's keeping our platform secure, balanced, and manipulatable.
Yep.
What are we doing with the top half of us?
So the top half, if you do get in an area or if you feel uncomfortable,
yep.
The biggest thing I will say is if you feel uncomfortable, stand up.
Okay.
So the key to standing up is most adventure bike riders who have very little experience off-road will stand up and they'll just kind of, not really, they're just standing up vertically on the bike.
Okay.
They're not really doing anything for it. Whereas if you look at most like motocross racers, enduro racers, people that have been off-road a lot, it's called the attack position.
Okay.
Okay. The attack position is your feet are still centered on the pegs. However, your knees grip the bike a little bit.
Okay.
Now, don't death grip it, but just put subtle pressure on the tank.
Becoming one with it.
Correct.
Yep.
And then, you still got, light pressure on the bars. The reason why this is called the attack position is because you're able to attack where you want the bike to go. When you're in sand, the bike's going to do its own thing. Whereas you're kind of just letting the bike go, but you're making those subtle changes with your weight that help you move. Hey, I want to go right. We're going to lean to the right a little bit. Okay. We'll get there.
But the handlebars are just going to kind of float and wiggle with the contours of the sand and just kind of like keep control of it. Don't try to steer with it.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Now,
okay, cool.
If you put a lot of pressure, like if you crank down on your front bars, that wheel, you're not going to be able to fight. You're not going to fight that. Whereas
that's another thing is you're putting weight on the front. I'm assuming that you don't want to dig the tire into the front. So do you need to keep your balance centered on the bike, back a little bit?
So when you grip the tank with your knees, you're kind of leaning back a little bit further.
Okay.
Okay. So basically, as you're doing that, your front wheel is automatically going to have less weight on it than it normally would.
And you can manipulate that weight too with a little blip of the throttle, pulling the nose up a bit. Okay.
Yep. So if I'm coming up to an area and I see like, okay, that looks like some deep sand, here's what I might do. I might, first I'll clutch in, kill the power. Okay, I'm looking out to see what's going on. Okay, it looks pretty deep. Let me give it a quick blip of the throttle, pop the front end up, and then I'll just skate right through it.
Gotcha. You're dragging the back tire and you're skating the front one across.
Correct.
Cool. All right, so I suppose really the last thing we need to do is go ahead and make sure your tires are aired properly and then find a bunch of sand for you to show me how to do it.
Correct.
All right, let's do it.
To air down your tires. Every tire is different, every bike is different. So on most European bikes, you have a valve system that's kind of offset. This is kind of what race bikes have. Whereas, your style motorcycle, the valve comes straight down.
Gotcha, yeah.
This actually is more protective against rocks and other stuff, but it's also kind of a pain because on the rear tire, the valve is facing the opposite direction.
Into the sprocket.
Correct. So first, I'm gonna take it off our handicap. Okay. The cool thing with Triumphs is they have this little nipple on them, and it actually helps you air down your tire. Okay. Now I'm going to drop down to 25 psi. Now I don't have an air gauge on me, but my compressor does.
Cool.
So I just left some air out. We are gonna tighten him up. And right now I've got 23.7
So you just bump it up a little.
PSI. So basically, I'm gonna set this to 25, and then we'll air it up. So that's about 25.6.
Close enough.
Close enough.
Cool now for the back one. And obviously this is a very good reason to carry around a portable air compressor of some sort, whether it's a USB or a cigarette lighter or a direct connection to the battery or whatever. You better have some way to put air back in your tires after you took the air out.
Right. I'm going to set the rear at 25 PSI, just like the front.
Okay.
Some people stagger their air pressures. Personally, I'd rather have 25 in the front, 25 in the back. That's just my personal, that's just what I do.
Cool. All right, let's do it.